Hi, so this prompt was kind of difficult for me to think outside the box a little bit and kind of go into affordances that may not be so obvious. So I was thinking more in the mental health route of fidget cubes and fidget spinners, but more fidget cubes because there is more to it. And I'll show like a picture and visuals and more explanation of that. But basically, my brief idea of how to interpret this prompt was that we would see a fidget cube. Most people who are like neurotypical, they don't really have any other symptoms of mental illness that really are displayed. So to them, it just looks like an ordinary toy or distraction or just something like a desk decoration. But for people who actually are more neurodivergent, like myself and also just many other kids, they actually did see a purpose in it, a different kind of purpose than other people would see it as. They saw it as a way to help them focus, as a way to help them fidget a lot less, a way for them to interact with an object to calm them down, usually before a big presentation or before something really important or a really important event. And for me personally, I have personal experience with that because I was given a fidget cube once, about basically around my freshman year of college, and I didn't see a purpose in it until I actually decided to try it out and interact with it and just kind of not really think about it, but just have it in my hand, interact with it. And I noticed that a lot of my mannerisms with being nervous weren't really there as like apparent as they were before I used it. So that I'm gonna dive a little bit more into the purpose and affordance of a fidget cube and the mental illness, the mental health, and ideas behind that. So to start, the definition that I pulled up from Merriam-Webster is that affordance, which is a noun, is the quality or property of an object that defines its possible uses or makes clear how it can or should be used. And like the example is about the chair, because the affordance and purpose of it is pretty clear. So basically, what are affordances? And as it says, affordances are properties of objects which show users the actions they can take. Users should be able to perceive affordances without having to consider how to use the items. For instance, a button can be designed to look as if it needs to be pushed or turned. And it's kind of like the example like you would use an elevator button to go up and down on the floors. And that's kind of an example of like that's the purpose of why we have that button to be interacted with. So to back this up, I have this article where it kind of goes into how they actually can be seen as helpful, and it's going more into like sensory reactions of like having this tool in their hand to kind of play around with actually kind of calms down their senses and their sensory processing. So it's kind of just like using this tool that kind of has multiple uses to it is actually more helpful and more relaxing for them to kind of use, so the fidgeting and being nervous is kind of lessened. And that's kind of the affordance in this fidget cube, is that it can be a tool to help with anxiety and ADHD and those mental health issues rather than just being dismissed as a toy. So in conclusion, I think that if we really want to break down like mental health and mental illness, it really does boil down to how we do treat children and how we handle their stressors when they appear. And I think when adults do dismiss these objects as just a toy, useless, a distraction, and not really dive into why a kid may need them, it really does kind of put the conversation at a halt. We're not really exploring why these kids are feeling this way. What pressures are we putting on them that make them fidget, that make them nervous, and make them so anxious that they can't even perform normal tasks. And it's a really interesting discussion to have, and I think that we should have it more about where it starts with kids and like maybe even how to lessen the pressures of society on kids. And it's like, yes, they should be prepared for life and they should be thrown a lot of tests to kind of show how they will be in the real world, but at the same time they are just kids. So it's like, how can we have a balance where we're teaching them how to handle their stress, but also teaching them how to handle it in a more healthy way and not just shut down, but to actually face it head on. And that's kind of the prompt I just wanted to explore and see if that was kind of on the right track of this prompt this week. So just wanted to see if that was an idea that someone can comment on and kind of give feedback on. But yeah, so thanks for listening.